Okay, so Dan, we're going to come to our presentation now. Do you need to just share your screen?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to make you the co-host, and I am listening to you, but I'm going to be doing my breakout room. So if I look like I'm not listening, please don't be offended. So you should have permission now to share your screen. Yay. Okay, so if everybody could mute themselves, and then we'll have time for questions afterwards or comments.
Okay, thanks, Jill. So today, I want to talk about communication and understanding our preferred styles of communication. Just move that there. So in particular, that each of us has a preferred style of communicating, and it's important, certainly in my line of business, and I think really that goes personally as well as professionally, for all of us, really understanding why it's important that we identify that we have different communication styles. So I want to share with you today some of the tools and techniques that I find effective in my communication, not only, as I say, in my work, but in my everyday life. Just ask yourselves, have you ever thought about or considered why it is that you have a greater understanding and get on with some people better than others? You may even hear yourself saying things like, you know, I really get that person, I enjoy working with them, we have a really good understanding and relationship. Or on the flip side of that, I don't get that person, I really don't enjoy working with them, I don't feel we understand each other, there's no connection. So one feels easy and tends to flow, and the other feels like this is hard work. So just a quote here, you know, we all have our own styles of communicating, and our different styles affect everything that we hear and we say in our lives. Okay, so, you know, we're different in the way that we prefer to communicate, and it's understanding this in ourselves as well as others that is key in making our communication more effective. In my work as a personal development coach, it's important that I'm able to gain a greater understanding of a client's personality and their preferred style of communication. So when I do this within my coaching relationships, it really quickly starts to build rapport and connection from the start of that relationship. And there are a number of personality profiling tools out there. Certainly in the corporate world, a tool that I was used to, and fortunately with my coach training, I was trained in the use of the personality profiling tool DISC, which some of you may have heard of. Okay, so this is the way that DISC works. If you see at the top there, you've got outgoing, at the bottom reserved, to the left task orientated, and to the right people orientated. So if we look at a DISC profile D, a DISC profile D person will be very dominant, they're results driven, they're very direct, and they're very competitive. In terms of an I personality profile, outgoing, people orientated, they will be influential, enthusiastic, friendly, and optimistic. When we look at an S profile, people orientated, but now reserved rather than outgoing. And their traits are steadiness, sincerity, being patient, modest. And then that comes around to the final one, which is C profile. Again, reserved, but task orientated rather than people. Compliant, accurate, cautious, and contemplative. That's a tough word. So yeah, they're the main traits, if you like, in each of the personality profiles. So, you know, as you look through those and as we went through it, you know, you may recognize some of your own personality traits within the 4 DISC styles. So, you know, have a think about what you do and what your style is more like you in terms of your work, for example. Now, in terms of mine, I'm a high S, so my dominant personality style is that I'm a reserved and people-orientated person, which I personally feel works pretty good for my work as a personal development coach. So understanding our own personality style and preferred style of communication is an important starting point in our communication with others. It raises our self-awareness. So as we start with ourselves. And for me, by carrying out a DISC profile with my clients, it enables me to adapt my approach to match his or her preferred style. So in other words, I'm actually speaking my client's language, and that really does help to build that connection and that rapport. So just to give you an example, as I've said, I'm an S profile. If I'm working with a D who's very dominant and results driven, then I need to be more direct in my coaching style, because the D profile client is fast paced, task driven, and wants quick results. So understanding this helps our relationship, and it significantly reduces the possibility that the client will get frustrated on his coaching journey, and more likely that he's going to be successful in achieving his goals. Speaking the client's language, or as I also like to say, having one foot in my client's world, increases the chances of a successful outcome. So, okay, so these are 4 very famous global personalities, and based on what you've just learned about DISC and what you may already know about DISC, what do you think is each of the person's dominant communication style? So I'll give you a few moments. If you just have a pad and pen handy there, if you just see whether you can get 4 out of 4 on which of the personality styles for each of these 4. Okay, we all done? Okay, so I shall reveal. So probably not surprisingly, Donald Trump is a D profile. He's dominant, he's decisive, driven, he's a doer. You've got Will Smith there, I profile. He's influential, he's inspirational, interactive, he's interesting. David Beckham, probably not quite so much in his footballing days, but certainly now he's an S profile, steady, stable, supportive, sincere. And then we've got Bill Gates, the final one there, as a C profile. He's compliant, careful, and conscientious. So DISC is a tool that I use with all of my clients. As I say, it helps me to understand their preferred style and the most effective way for me to actually communicate with them and enhance our working relationship. Sorry, I went a bit far there. Okay, so some of the other tools that I use to help me with effective communication are the modalities of a client. So that, what I mean is the 3 main modalities are someone who's visual, someone who's auditory, or someone who's kinesthetic. So seeing, hearing, and feeling. You know, I listen to the words that my clients use, and I use this in everyday communication as well, in my personal life. You know, if somebody's more visual, then you may hear them using words or saying things like, I see what you mean. You know, I can really see myself fitting in there. If they're more auditory, I hear what you're saying. I'm sure I heard something about that. And someone who's kinesthetic, I feel comfortable with that. I feel there's a really good connection there. So I adapt the words that I use to match their preferred styles or dominant modality. And I know I'm talking about my coaching experience, but also as a hypnotherapist, I find this particularly effective within my hypnotherapy work, which enhances my client's experience. Okay, so tools that I use, matching and mirroring, body language, pace, tone. So matching and mirroring a person's body language or matching the pace and tone of their speech is a powerful tool in helping to build rapport and connection, and that again aids with effective communication. So for example, if you're, well, we're doing it at the moment, but if you're face to face with somebody sitting down and they cross their right leg over their left and then you do the same, you're matching their body language. And what you'll notice over a period of time, once that connection starts to build and that rapport starts to build, you will find yourself, you do something and they will match what you do, so that that connection gets stronger. In terms of tone and pace, if you've got somebody there that's talking with you, as an example, if you can flip it around the other way. If somebody's talking to you very fast paced, a little bit erratic, you can actually get the person to match what you're doing. So for example, if you slow down the pace and you talk in a very calm way, you'll find that that person will actually then start to match what you're doing. And again, a very powerful way of communicating and connecting with that person. So just to finish off really with a quote, your ability to communicate with others will account for fully 85% of your success in your business and in your life. And again, another personal development guru, Brian Tracy, wrote that. So, okay, I don't know whether we've got time, Jill, how I'm doing for time, whether we've got some time for questions.
Yeah, you have. You did that in 9 minutes, so thank you very much for that. So if anybody would like to, I don't know if I can unmute you all. Let me see if I can do it. If you stop sharing your screen.
Stop sharing, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. So I'm going to attempt to unmute everybody, or you can unmute yourselves, guys.
Very good, Dan. Good presentation.
Great presentation, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I noticed when you were talking about the matching and mirroring, Dan, for some reason I was sort of had Rafa Nadal in my mind. You can see when he's playing tennis, he's deliberately, if he's playing someone that that likes to go really quick, like Federer, then Nadal deliberately tries to slow it down. Obviously, because he's trying to not match him. He's trying to get inside his head, which is an interesting kind of flip of what you were talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, Tiger Woods did that all the time in the early, on his prime. He would change the speed of play, everything.
I mean, I learned about DISC in the 1990s. I think what's really interesting about it is that as I've got older, my personality has changed, definitely, because it is to a degree subjective, isn't it, Dan?
Yes.
Yourself. Unlike other profiling, I mean, I do a human design profile, which is not subjective at all, and that's really, really interesting. But it's also interesting on how other people see you as well, because I often hear lots of people saying, oh, well, people that you would think to be extroverts and to be really kind of confident, they'll often say, actually, do you know what, I'm an introvert. And it's our perception of those people that is really interesting, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And it's interesting when you ask people for feedback on, because that, again, as part of my coach training, and raising my self-awareness about certain aspects of me, is getting from people how they see you, how they perceive you. And it's amazing, really, how different it actually is to the way that you look at yourself.
Daniel, I just wanted to ask if so now the majority of what you do must be virtual.
Yes.
How you find the change in the modalities, but also in observing people, you know, because people talk a lot about body language, and I know that I found it really interesting, the changes to moving to coaching people over video as opposed to face to face.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. There is no doubt that when you're with somebody face to face, it is a lot more natural in picking up the body language of that person. And I think that for me, coaching and also my hypnotherapy online rather than face to face, I think your senses change. You actually look things, as I said, like the tone and pace. Yes, you've still got, particularly when we're doing Zoom rather than a telephone, you've still got some visual, and you can look at facial expressions. But I think things like tone and pace certainly come into it. And also, you know, one of the things through my counselling studies, and it applies again, is looking to see whether a client's words match what you can see, what their facial expressions are. And I kind of know that as listening to the music behind the words. You know, if somebody is giving a facial expression that things aren't really quite okay, but their words that they're using are, oh yeah, no, yeah, everything's fine, everything's great. That doesn't match. So as a coach, you kind of explore that a bit deeper.
Yeah, it's like when people's smile doesn't go up to their eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I do a lot of work over the telephone, and I would say that what's happened to me is I now listen. I actually listen a lot better without video. If you know, when all, the only stimulus you have is sound, you know, I find that really interesting. And actually, you can read a lot more into the inflection, or you know, how somebody says something, and those sorts of
the breaths, the pauses, you know, you learn those active global listening techniques. And yeah, as I said before, you know, it kind of heightens your other senses when you haven't got the visual.
And I'm a speaker coach, so one of the things that we talk about within speaker training is how can you adapt your tone of voice and your pace and all of those things, because you know, if you're in a room full of 12 people or 2,000 people, you have to appeal to all of those different profiles. And so if you're the D person, you're going to really piss people off straight away if they're I's or S's. So it's actually, you know, a lot of that speaker training is understanding not only how to listen, but how you can put yourself in their energy, because it is really all about energy. And I think that what we've become better at doing, because we're more used to Zoom, for example, is I can feel all of your energies. And what we're doing is we're becoming much more intuitive, and the energy of this meeting will be very different to an energy of another meeting. Would you agree?
Yes, 100%. And and I find also that, you know, in communication, I've kind of got to the point where I pick up on people's energies just from words in emails, and words in text messages or whatever it is. Your senses really get heightened, your intuition gets heightened.
Matthew, have you done anything like that? Because it can be really powerful in sales.
Yeah, definitely have. So I've done the disc, and I was quite surprised. I thought I was going to be, because I'm very competitive. I'm from a sports background, so I'm very competitive and driven in that nature. And I came out as more yellow, like the eye side of things. And so it is definitely worth doing it. And I'm a very kinesthetic learner, so I'm very touching and feeling. So it really is very good in sales, and it's also good to know. Like it helped me a lot with my learning and studying and side of things.
Yeah, I think one of the other things to just kind of bear in mind with this, and I know I didn't cover it in the 10 minutes, is that, you know, we have a dominant style, but we're not just like a D profile or an S profile. we're a mix, we're a blend, okay, of all the four. You know, I didn't cover it because of the time element, but you know, I'm a high S, but with C, and that C brings in things like planning and organization and being accurate and sort of accounting and stuff like that. So, you know, when I said about the fact that, you know, look at what you do in terms of your work as well. There's a lot of people that when you look at them, they're actually a profile that suits what they do.
Yes, James, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just put in the chat that when I was manager at the bank, they sent the whole team along to do disc profile. It was over a 4-day period, so it was quite in depth. And I remember our boss kind of refused to show his results, and eventually you see them, and he was a high D, high C at the same time, very, very high, very low on the other two. And the trainer called that the bucket because it's high and then low there. And it explained a lot because he was incredibly dominant. It was like a Trump type personality, but he was incredibly compliant at the same time. So anyone who went against the rules, he used to come down with a ton of bricks. And it really helped. It really helped us understand his personality a lot more. And I think, if he's honest, it helped him understand us. And not everybody was as firmly down the line as he was. You know, there's always an element of grey. So I recommend that while a lot of people are skeptical about this kind of profiling, and we certainly were as a load of bank managers going in there, it actually is incredibly insightful. And certainly when I showed my wife my results, despite the fact that I argued against them, she said it summed me up to a T, to be honest. So it was really, really useful.
I think it's good, the apprentices that, because I work with a lot of procurement professionals, and they do a lot of relationship management. So it's really important for them to understand their key stakeholders. So it's the same as sales in that it's understanding you, but also how you can adapt to the styles of the people that you're communicating with. And that's really the important bit, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Sean, you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Dan, you mentioned that some people are clearly cut out for the role that they do, and I think Julie Futcher is a prime case of that. She's probably the highest of D's that you could ever meet, and she, you know, if you've ever done any training with her or anything, she cuts straight to the chase. She doesn't. There's no messing around. And actually, it was interesting because I did an environmental check for Julie and Courtney, and the report that I put out, because I'm quite a high C, was very much in that kind of language, which is similar to what Courtney is. But then Julie just looked at it and then, yeah, Courtney can deal with that. Tell me the money.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, again, you know, if I'm working with a high D, being an S, you know, I like all the fluffy stuff. I like, you know, if I'm messaging someone, you know, how you doing? I hope you're well, and all that stuff. You know, a D doesn't want that. A D, you know, high, bullet points, want to get this done, when can I have it? And, you know, so in my line of work, I need to understand, you know, how I can, as I said, speak my client's language, you know, have one foot in their world.
Yeah, I can agree more, because I've got clients that when I do their books, they want to know how I've got to these results, and others just will send me a list of people I need to pay. I don't need to know all the fluffy bits in the background. Just send me the list of who I need to pay and when. I don't need to know the rest of it. And others want to know how I've got to those results. So you have to adapt what you do to what your client needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It is interesting, isn't it, that we can all confidently name a D style, but some of the others it's actually harder to slightly pinpoint down those people, isn't it?
It's a good point. Well made, Jamie Cochran. Good. All right.
I hope you found that interesting and
yeah, we did, Dan. Thank you.
Some insights on that.
Yeah, it's good to revisit that because it's a long time ago that I visited that. I'd be interested to share with you the human design thing as well, because that would be really useful in your work, which is more genetic blueprinting and looking at particularly corporate structures and how various people, you know, you've got the the visionary, you've got the architect who can kind of see the big picture, the specialist who's able to focus on one thing, the grunt worker, I'm a grunt worker, I'm a builder, that's able to do everything, and then 1% of the world, which are the reflectors, which are the ones that kind of take on everybody else's stuff and can kind of absorb, you know, they say, oh, this is really good, but you know, you should have done that with a blue door, not a green door. It's really fascinating.
That'd be great.